give a man a purpose and the ability to achieve it, and he will crawl over broken glass with a smile. And I think that feeling capable and powerful and competent and respected and admired is something that will get a man so far. You give a man those things, he'll deal with suffering until the ends of the earth. We're designed to do that. We're designed to suffer. We're designed to deal with that suffering. But it needs to be in service of something. The man that suffers and doesn't have competence, capability, purpose, respect, meaning, admiration, that's a man that's depressed. That's a man who is alone and struggling and may take his own life, or may become increasingly useless to the potential partner and society around him, or may become radicalized, in one form or another. And a man who is able to do things well is useful to everybody around him.
So if you wake up in the morning and you don't want to do something, you don't care enough about yourself. And that's what you need to really research is, man, why am I not doing this for myself? Because that is the number one purpose in life, is to better oneself.
And it is incredibly difficult to compete with someone who's being themselves. How am I going to be a better Joe Rogan than Joe Rogan is? The best that I can hope for is being the second best Joe Rogan in the world, if I decide to do that. So if you decide to lean into the thing that only you can do, that is where your competitive advantage lies. And that doesn't mean that you can't progress forward. That doesn't mean that you can't enhance yourself and develop new skills. But I do think that there's something to do with embracing the uniqueness that you have that will allow you to direct yourself towards something that is more fulfilling, that's more in line with you, that is competitively more effective. Socially, people are going to resonate with you. We don't love people for how much they're like other people. No one's ever fallen in love with someone and said, you know what it is? I just love the fact that I can accurately predict all of their opinions without having heard their thought on something beforehand. I just adore how predictable she is. No. It's because of how unique they are.
I think about this every day. I mean, we are living in a war of attention. I wake up in the morning and I can be a consumer or a creator. If I reach for my phone, I'm a consumer. If I go to my journal, I'm a creator. My advice to anyone who wants to be successful in any domain is to do things away from where you broadcast and then take it to that broadcast. I mean, take your real life to Instagram and be very cautious about taking Instagram to your real life.
The depth of my consciousness causes me to suffer. Is it a blessing or a curse to feel everything so very deeply? The only way out is through. You take more of the thing that poisons you until you turn it into a tonic that girdles the world around you. I wish I didn't think about things as much. I wish I didn't care about things as much. I wish I didn't worry. I wish I didn't have as much anxiety. But guess what? You do. So how are you going to play the cards that you've been dealt? And that's a huge advantage to tons and tons and tons of ways, except for a couple. And the pains are very obvious, and all of the rewards are very hidden. So you need to go through. The only way out is to find them.
When you're suffering or you're lazy or you're procrastinating, doing something that's harder than the state that you're in bounces you back much faster. This is all based in the dynamics of dopamine. It's sort of crazy. If you know how people are procrastinating to write something and they start cleaning the house? Something they normally don't want to do. Well, it's just something that's easier than the thing that you're supposed to do.
Right.
It turns out, and I learned this from Anna, if you do something that's even harder than the thing that you're trying to avoid, all of a sudden you're able to do that. And you're like, oh, okay, well, it's just psychology, right? No, it's not psychology alone. It's psychology, but once dopamine is deployed at that level, you're a different person.
If you go visit the darkness that you've been running from, you'll have the opportunity to leave a better person. You'll have a better understanding of yourself. You'll have a better understanding of your purpose. But if you don't take that trip and the darkness comes visits you, it's a guest that will never leave.
If you win, you win. If you lose, you learn.
Yeah.
And so you always win. And if you really can think about it that way, every time, I remember pretty much every time I've ever been humiliated on the mat, every time I've ever been really manhandled and tapped, I remember them very well.
Gratitude's an excellent practice, man. It's the opposite of arrogance and resentment. I think it's a great thing to become an expert at. And I think that you can allow yourself happiness if you're grateful.
The only way to really get free is to have some forgiveness, And people do the best they can. And all any of us are is just kids that are just getting older, and just trying our best in the world. And sometimes it takes time. You can't really force it, but but I think we can get into practices that help us get closer to forgiveness. And that's where I want to be, because at a certain point, I'm tired of the grudges. Even if I'm not the one making them, even if they're from a young, I've got to talk to myself or have a relationship enough with my heart that's like, hey, trust me enough to walk us through this. And with my higher power to say, hey, God, help me walk through this. You know, I have felt unloved, or I have felt wronged, or I have felt this. Help me try again to give this person a chance to love me, because if not, I miss out twice. I miss out as a child when I wasn't able to make a choice, when it was all survival instincts that I had to operate from. But I miss out as an adult when I am able to make a choice.
Being ashamed is one of the biggest things that kill people nowadays. In their minds, kill them from moving forward. I'm ashamed of myself. Don't ever be ashamed of anything you've done in your life. Face it, fix it, make it better. We are humans. But then again, if you always think that we're humans, you will always just be a human.
If you were all gathered around the bed of someone close who was dying, could you manage it? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, put your life together, because it's going to happen. And you should be the person who's there that can do it, and do it properly. And then maybe you'd find that it isn't the sort of thing that will undermine your faith in life itself.
There's a thing that men need. They need difficult tasks, and they need to know that they can overcome difficult tasks. And through that, you develop your human potential. You develop what you're capable of doing. And if you don't encounter those things in life, you remain feeble. And you may...
Fetal even.
Yeah, and very, not just immature, but insecure.
Well, and not just insecure, but insecure, then bitter, then resentful, then dangerous.
Yeah.
Weak, insecure, bitter men are not harmless.
No.
Quite the contrary.
And they try to damage people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they try to damage people oftentimes because in comparison to those people they're trying to damage, they feel they come up short. They don't like it. They don't like the feeling. Yeah. And they try to destroy the thing that makes them feel bad.
But the young men really need to hear this more, I think, is that you should be a monster. You know, because everyone says, well, you should be harmless, virtuous. You shouldn't do anyone any harm. You should sheath your competitive instinct. You shouldn't try to win. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive. You don't want to be too assertive. You want to take a back seat and all of that. It's like, no, wrong. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it.
My grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. He said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.